The Twins are looking for a new manager. Much more on Rocco Baldelli being dismissed by Minnesota. Plus, it's the game of the year already in 3A football. Davies and Shanley. We'll preview that. Hot Mike starts now.
Hot Mike with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mike.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mike. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Tuesday morning. Welcome to they didn't wait long edition of Hot Mike on WDAY Extra. KSFL TV, good morning everybody in Sioux Falls. KNBN in Rapid City and Inforum.com. Happy Tuesday everybody. We've reached the end of September. September the 30th, 2025. We are donezo for the month. Well, they didn't wait long, as I mentioned off the top of the show. Minnesota Twins, frankly, moved quicker even than I thought. We mentioned on the show yesterday, we got a couple emails in wondering if they were going to make a move, and we got the email at about 2:45 yesterday that they are moving on from Rocco Baldelli. And there can't be any surprise on this. The only surprise is actually that it happened as quickly as it did after 7 seasons as manager of the Twins, 3 division championships, his first year winning manager of the year in 2019. Followed up, they won the division in the COVID-shortened year of 2020, and then followed it up with the 2023 title, which was a dynamite season that just now is the shining spot that seems further and further away after what's happened over the last 2 years. And this past season that just ended a couple days ago overshadows the blight that was the final 6 weeks of last year. Because that was disastrous, implosion over the final 6 weeks, where Minnesota led the American League Central for the first 5 months of the baseball season, and then saw the roof cave in on them and ended up missing the playoffs, I believe, by 4 games a year ago. This year, if you take the 13-game win streak out of play, which was such a mirage, and we said it as it was happening, this team wins 57 games. As it were, they were 70 and 92 this year. And you can put a lot of this on ownership considering what happened at the end of the season, knowing that they traded away 11 guys by the deadline, that they were trotting out pitchers that had no business being in the major leagues at the end of the season. It was not pretty. The failures of the front office need to come into focus, though, here. Because, to me, this isn't on Baldelli. They have to have a fall guy here. They traded away a bunch of players, right? They're not going to fire any more players. Ownership isn't changing. We found that out a month ago. And the general manager's not going to fire himself, even though there's probably a heck of a growing group that want Derek Volvey to be replaced as the guy making decisions with the Minnesota Twins. So what's left is Rocco. And you could see it coming considering that he didn't do anything to help himself with how the team played, I think, over the last month and a half. And that's not to disparage the guy. I think he's a good guy. I think he was hamstrung by not only salary, not only player decisions, but I think how the front office wanted him to manage the games. We saw that time and time again a couple years ago with him and Sonny Gray. going head-to-head because he never wanted to come out of the game. And the analytics said that he's got to come out. And how many times have we discussed that the day after a game? Like, well, this guy was cruising and then pulled out of the game and saw what happened after that. That, I don't think, was a Baldelli deal. I think that was coming from management of how they wanted the Twins to play baseball with how they built the team. So the Twins are now one of, I believe, 6 teams looking for a manager. The Rangers are also open now. The Giants became open yesterday. The Rockies have an interim manager. The Nationals do as well. That's part of a growing list there that's out there. Who's next? Well, that's the intriguing part on where they're going to go. Later this morning, I believe at 10 o'clock, the Twins are going to have a press conference with Joe Pohlad. I can't wait to hear that, who runs the team, and Derek Falvey about where they're going to go and what they're looking for their next manager. I mean, somebody had to take the fall on this, and it was obviously going to be Rocco. When you already mandate before 2024 that we got to cut $30 million to right size the payroll, and then trade off 11 guys in moves that's never been seen before in the history of the game at the deadline, I'm not sure what else the man could do. There are plenty of moves to be made. And frankly, as we talked about yesterday on the show, and actually on Friday's show when Corey Provis was with us, and we'll have one more appearance with Corey coming up this coming Friday to wrap things up, and now no shortage of things to discuss with this dismissal, is who's going to be on the team. Provis, initiated a you-know-what storm by talking about, is Byron Buxton going to be back? That got all the Twins' rubes up in arms on that. I'm of the mindset they're going to move Pablo Lopez and Joe Ryan. I would be stunned if one of the two is back. I wouldn't really be surprised if both of them are gone. If one of the two is actually back on this roster in 2026, that would be a surprising development with this baseball team. And there are going to be plenty of candidates and names bandied about. That's something we can discuss in the coming days on where they go. But to me, all of that is irrelevant until you know what is the structure of payroll for the team. Because I'm fully aware they're going to cut more. I can't imagine that they're going to sit with what they have. Minnesota Star-Tribune has several candidates out there. Brandon Hyde is the former Orioles manager. He was the manager of the year a couple years ago. He got canned in May when the Orioles started off horrendously, and Baltimore finished with a losing record this year. Skip Shoemaker, who's former manager of the Marlins. He got the Marlins to the playoffs a couple years ago. Derek Shelton, former Twins coach, former Pirates manager. I mean, you talk about tough jobs. Pirates comes right to mind on tough jobs in Major League Baseball. Torrey Hunter's name is out there, which I know would get some of the fan base excited about that. David Bell, who's the Blue Jays assistant GM, who was a manager with the Reds for 6 years. James Rowson, who's a former Twins hitting coach. I believe he's the hitting coach with the Yankees now. David Ross, who's a former Cubs manager, who led them to the got them to the World Series as their catcher, then took over as manager when Joe Madden stepped down. There's going to be plenty of names bandied about. First, you got to fix the team. And I don't know if that's coming anytime soon because ownership is not leaving. So the start of, I would think, a busy offseason officially began yesterday with the dismissal of Rocco. And I will say the times we've talked about him on this program, whether it was when Dick Bramer was with us and then with Corey, I think the general consensus, great guy, smart baseball guy, handled himself with the media, I think, really well, got better with that as his tenure with the team. I think was certainly hamstrung by what the team wanted him to do in terms of decisions and what players they gave. I mean, look at that lineup that they trotted out for the last 2 months. We talked about it when we were doing highlights of the games, some of we did. I mean, come on. There might have been 3 major leaguers that they were playing with maybe 4. There's only so much you can do with that. So we'll see. But the first move of the offseason officially underway with the Twins. More on that coming up later on in our show. We already got a bunch of emails we'll get to later on. Let's get our show started with wrapping up Week 4 of the National Football League. What a treat for everybody last night that the New York Football Jets would be featured on Monday Night Football against the Miami Dolphins in a division game. 2 teams that hadn't won a game yet were matched up with one another. And I don't know if it lived up to the hype of being one of the 2 games on Monday Night Football last night, but the Jets are bad. You want to talk about saying things over and over again? That was the case. Let's go to Miami, show you the moving pictures of what happened last night with this one. And the Dolphins took advantage early against the Jets. Tua Tagovailoa looked like he was back in Alabama last night. Beautiful. I didn't even know that Darren Waller was still in the league. Why can't the Raiders find players like him to the back of the end zone? Dolphins are up 10-rip. Now, only to the Jets can they do this. To start the second half, right, they're going to get the ball. They've turned it over so many times in the first 4 games. And, of course, what happens here on the kickoff to start the second half? They fumble it. And the Dolphins get the ball. Now, later in the third quarter, this pass to the outside to Tyreek Hill. And you do not want to see the replay of that because his leg is bent the wrong way to Tyreek Hill. Scary situation there. His mom even came down. Dislocated knee, several knee ligaments torn was the report this morning, and obviously his season is done. Back to the game. Tagovailoa again to Darren Waller for a touchdown. It's a rout now. It's 17-3 Miami. The Jets had not beaten the Dolphins in Miami since 2014. Justin Fields on 4th down decides to take things over here. Taking himself. Nice little cutback. Gets into the end zone. 43 yards out. Just like that. They reeled me back in. Now it's 17-10. Now they need a defensive stop. Which, by the way, Aaron Glenn came to install better defense. And instead, they get that kind of tackling. Devon Achane scores. It's 24-10. Miami at that point. I would say the Jets gave them some hope again. Within a 3 minute, they played well late in games. It's just the first 57 minutes. That catch by Garrett Wilson is sensational. That made it 27-21 after the Jets got the 2-pointer. They couldn't recover the onside kick after that, though. Miami goes on and wins it by the final count of 27-21, the final. They get their first win of the season. Justin Fields goes for 226 at a score. Tua was solid. And the Jets are 0-4. What was heard out of the locker room afterwards? Apparently, Aaron Glenn was, you know what? We're done. No, I don't want to see it anymore. Or just, I can't do it anymore. Can't. The disappointing part of the baseball season isn't even, just ended for me. So, it's back-to-back days. The Mets had their season end in Miami against the Marlins. The Jets get beat in Miami. I can't imagine the amount of Mets fans that stuck around and said, hey, we can make a double out of it. We'll go watch the Mets go to the playoffs on a Sunday and beat the Marlins and then stick around and go to Monday Night Football and watch them play the Dolphins. And instead, you had a 36 hours of utter badness that you can't even wrap your mind around. For fans of both of those franchises, which I clearly am one of them, it ain't good. Talk about Twins fans being upset. There's your 36 hours for there to wrap up Week 4. Broncos got you would talk about bad teams. Cincinnati, what happened to the Bengals without Joe Burrow? Broncos got a big win last night to wrap up Week 4 of the NFL season. So, that's where we're at with Week 5 on the doorstep with an NFC West game coming up on Thursday. We have a packed show lineup for you here on this Tuesday morning. Our guest lineup is brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. Coming up at 9:35, our guy Mike McFeely will join us, give us the lowdown on Bison football as North Dakota State gets ready for a road matchup at Illinois State. We'll chat about that with Michael coming up at 9:35. At 10 o'clock, Wayne Werremeyer will join us, head football coach of the Davies Eagles, ranked number 2 in 3A football. Who do they got this week? Number 1, Shanley. Game that you'll see coming up later this week on our airwaves. We'll preview that coming up at 10 o'clock. And at 10:35, back with us on a Tuesday morning, Steve Laqua will join us, MSUM head football coach. Dragons played a tough one with Duluth, came up short on Saturday. We'll recap that. Look at the homecoming as MSUM has Minot State. Beavers coming to town after they got a big win over Bemidji State. We'll preview that coming up later on in the show. That and a bunch more here on a busy Tuesday. We'll take our first break. We come back. We'll look ahead to the baseball bracket. It begins today for those of you lucky enough that have a team still playing in the postseason. And your emails. We're off and rolling. Tuesday edition of Hot Mic on WDAY Extra is back after this. Welcome back, everybody. Don't forget, we got high school volleyball coming up tonight. Moorhead and DGF. Note the start time. It's 7 o'clock tonight. We hit the air on Extra. Match at 7:15, but we're on the air at 7 for Spuds Rebels. That was the first sporting event I ever covered at WDAY volleyball way back when. Moorhead and DGF went 5 sets that night right across the river. We'll have that for you tonight coming up on WDAY Extra. I was reminded of this tweet that I sent out, so this is my own fault because after the Justin Fields touchdown last night, I was reeled back in. But prior to that, when Darren Waller scored and then the Jets fumbled, I put the following out, that the Mets lost, now the Jets. I read 2 Dino books with a Jackman. He went to bed. It was great. I found out even way more about dinosaurs than I thought I even knew. Like the Argentinosaurus I found about last night. I was beyond thrilled. And then my phone started vibrating because I get any sort of alerts if the Jets do something. And I'm like, well, all right. They're back in it. This is not returning to the desk until they win a game. We've been down this road before. It might be awfully clear for a while because it ain't looking pretty right now. But we've got some brilliant Minnesota Wild. No, fine, I'll do it. You want me to get rid of it? Let's go. Done. I'm done with them. I don't want to hear anymore. How about some breaking news this morning? Minnesota Wild fans at least can smile. Their guy apparently is signed, according to Elliot Friedman. And then the Wild put it out from Hockey Night in Canada. Kirill Kaprizov is a signed man. He is a well-paid man. 8 years, above $16 million average annual value, the highest deal in NHL history. Friedman now reporting the average annual value will be $17 million a year. So I'm not great at math, but 17 times 8, I believe, is 125? 135? It's pretty darn good. Wait a minute. 17 times 8? Yeah, let me get my math together here. 136 million. That's all right. For a guy that, a couple weeks ago said no, apparently that extra million was enough to convince him that this is the place that he wanted to be. Now, last week we played the interview he did once Wild Camp opened, and he said he just want to focus on hockey. This is where I want to be. Bill Guerin had been pretty tight-lipped about it, that thinking they might be able to get something done, and obviously they've got it done. They should feel pretty darn good about this, that they got one of the NHL superstars signed. What this does for perhaps Connor McDavid, because he's still waiting to get signed, And his number is going to be bigger than this, but that's the news from Elliot Friedman of Hockey Night in Canada. 8 years, average annual value of $17 million a year. So that's 8 for $136 for the Russian star to stay with the Minnesota Wild. Pretty darn good for going rate these days for the guy that he's must watch. Anytime that he's on the ice, you go and watch him. So you can breathe easy, Wild fans. He's not going anywhere. Now the biggest thing, can you keep him on the ice? He missed half the season last year. A little bit more here from the Hockey News. Record-breaking contract extension for Kaprizov, an 8-year deal carrying a $17 million average annual value. The team announced following reports from Kevin Weeks, Elliot Friedman, and Michael Russo. That $136 million contract, which runs from 2026-27 through 23-24, is the most expensive in NHL history. You know what? Good on the Wild. Good on Craig Leopold, the owner of the team, to make this happen. You know, I would say the other 4 professional outfits in the Twin Cities pony up when they have to. The Vikings certainly have done that. The Wilfs have no aversion to spend money to get guys to come in. I think you've certainly seen it with the Wolves when Tim Connolly came in, and with A-Rod and Mark Lowry now running the ship, that they were aggressive in the trade for Rudy Gobert. They were aggressive in the trade for Cat, that they have shown the ability to do that. The Wild certainly now in that company as well. The Lynx have shown that they've gone out and have been aggressive to make deals to make the team better. Tip of the hat there. There's one team I'm leaving out, and we all know about that franchise. So there you go, Wild fans. The season begins a week from tonight. The NHL season begins regular season 1 week from tonight. I believe the Wild play their first game about 9 days from now. So congratulations there. Kaprizov is a signed man and is not going anywhere. He'll be playing for the Minnesota Wild for the next 8 years and making a lot of money in the process. Good deal there. All right. With that said, I got a couple more emails coming in. Let's read this on the Twins. Dom, the Twins the last several years have lacked fundamentals, and this clearly on the manager. Base running, defensively, bunting, all that comes down to the manager. No excuses. I will say base running, yes. Defensively, they have lacked goodness. Nobody bunts anymore. Nobody even practices it. So I'm not going to get too much on that. But I will agree they have lacked some fundamental goodness over the last handful of years. Again, not surprised that somebody's got to go, that it ends up being the manager. Speaking of it, we've got the baseball postseason begins later today. We have the best of 3 wild card series starting. These are for the teams seeded 3, 4, 5, and 6. All the games are played at one site. Baseball got this idea when the COVID shortened year, when they had this, and they've took it off and ran with it over the last handful of seasons. You can see it begins today with the Guardians and the Tigers, which the fact we're even talking about the Guardians hosting anything is insane. They won the division after being down by 15.5 games. So now Detroit has to go to Cleveland and win 2 games to move on. The winner of that will play the Mariners. Seattle won the American League West and finished with the second-best record in the AL this year. That's the first game that starts at noon today. I mean, this is a great – I know it's like 85 degrees outside. Everybody's going to go golf. But it's a beautiful day to have some sports on TV because you've got 4 games on today. Red Sox and the Yankees comes up later. Stunner, that gets prime time on ESPN tonight from Yankee Stadium. The winner of that gets to – so we've got an all AL East part of the bracket there in the bottom left because whoever gets the winner of that will get Toronto, who has home field advantage all the way to the World Series. Meanwhile, in the National League, the Padres and Cubs will play a Wrigley today. That's coming up on WDAY. Looking forward to that. That should be fun. They have some history in the postseason. Go back to 1984 when the Padres and Cubs played. Gosh, get your Gary Templeton jerseys out there. And then Reds and the Dodgers is later tonight from L.A. I'm ignoring that series simply out of spite because that's where the Mets should have been and are clearly not. That's going to be a dynamite. We'll see how the Reds fare. That's 8 o'clock tonight, and the winner of that gets Philadelphia, with the Brewers earning the 1 seed and play the winner of Chicago and San Diego. Boy, if the Cubs are able to get through, how many Cubs fans are going to make their way to Milwaukee for the first couple games of that series? That could get nasty, and vice versa for Game 3 in Chicago. But there it is, and as I mentioned yesterday, there's no slam dunk like this is the best team by far. Nobody out there that won 105 games. In fact, nobody in baseball won 100 games this year, which is the first time that's happened in a long time, taking the COVID year out of the picture. Dodgers won 93. The Padres won 90. The Brewers won 97. Cubs won 92. The Reds won 83. If you would have told me, by the way, the National League Central would get 3 teams and the Cardinals wouldn't be one of them, would have lost a lot of money on that. The Phillies won 96. Mariners won 90. The Guardians and Tigers, 88-87. The American League was down. Red Sox, 89. The Yankees, 94. And the Blue Jays, 94. Last thing on this before we wrap, because I heard more echoes of this yesterday, and I talked about it briefly on the show, and this is completely sour grapes. I get it coming from me. But when I heard it on MLB Network yesterday, that made me at least validate a little bit that, and this is in echoes off the tie that happened on Sunday Night Football, that the tiebreaker games need to come back. Because we had a tie for the AL East that could have been settled with a 1-game playoff. We had a tie for the last wild card spot that could have been settled with a 1-game playoff. Those games would have been yesterday. You're telling me they wouldn't have had some eyeballs on that? You know, baseball looking for any sort of sliver. And I know there were 2 Monday night games, and they were both dogs last night. My team was in one of them, and that Bengals-Broncos game was a stinker. If you're telling me we had game 163 with the Mets and the Reds and the Blue Jays and the Yankees for the division title, there would have been something for that. I hope baseball reconsiders and goes back, because those 163s were dynamite. The Twins played in a couple of them were fantastic games. I understand they don't want the season to go on, and if weather ends up being a factor, then you're delaying. I get it, but you're missing out on something when you have those games. It's fun stuff. We'll break. We come back. Our guy Mike McFeely waiting in the wings. We'll chat some Bison ball, some FCS football, whatever else is on Michael's mind, which is always an interesting topic to open up. We'll do that on the other side of the break. We're back on Hot Mike in 3.5 minutes.
Oh, it's Mr. McFeely.
I have seen the future, and he was wearing number 5, and I ain't talking about Robbie Grimsley, folks.
Took out the muffins, took out the trail mix, took out the cookies. They stole the monster cookies.
Wow, that's awesome. That is so awesome. Let's do some broadcasting.
All right, it's that time with our guy Mike McFeely. Joins us each and every Tuesday at 9:35. I love our viewers that love our repeated guests. Mike is obviously on every Tuesday. We got an email already waiting. I got this on Saturday to ask you, okay?
Wow.
So this is good. Dom, when you have Mike in on Tuesday, can you guys discuss USD not doing a post-game presser? To say before the game they only have one if they win seems ridiculous, but is this more common than fans may think? I don't want to shovel dirt on them if it happens frequently. Maybe the Missouri Valley should mandate pressers for conference games. Love the show.
Yeah, I wasn't that offended by it. I wrote about it. I led my column with it.
Struck me sideways, honestly.
But it was odd in the fact that they said before the game, like,
yes.
if we win,
yes.
we're going to, and if we lose, we're not. And if we wanted to, we still could have walked over to the South Dakota locker room.
I mentioned that yesterday
and
on the
talked
show.
But it's like,
we're not going to do that, right?
No, I mean,
nope.
Just all the TV cameras and radio stuff is
here.
all set up in a room.
Yeah.
Go over there and talk. The fans, I appreciate the question. I don't know that fans care that much. It was a big deal. I got some messages from other media people just going, "What's going on?" It's like, whatever. Yeah. I mean, and what's he going to say anyway? But the point is that you don't set out the parameters before the game. Like, like you're going to get on the road that much. The excuse was we want to get in the bus and get out of here as quick as possible.
Right.
So the 5 minutes that you.
How long would that take? 5 to 7 minutes tops?
What difference does it make?
Right.
I mean,
I didn't get that either. And frankly, the question I had, and I know you and I talked about it, and I mentioned it on the show yesterday, is why your starting quarterback is still in the game when it's 51-6 with 5 minutes.
It was 51-3. Yeah. Like I wrote about it. It was 51-3, and Bauman was still in the game, which I didn't understand that either because they still have a lot of season left. That's this game was over at halftime or earlier, and you're not going to take him out at halftime. Let him play the third quarter, whatever. That's fine. But I didn't. Yeah, I would have liked to ask why is he still in the game?
Because they took L.J. Phillips out of the game. He wasn't their star running back. Wasn't playing late in the fourth quarter.
I know the squads are smaller for conference road games because they're limited to the number of bodies they can take on the road, and so there would be reasons for other positions to still have. But if Bauman gets hurt, I mean whatever chance you have, you're to make the playoffs. You're done. I mean he's So I did just a lot of things. I didn't think that they looked particularly ready, well prepared.
No,
South Dakota. That was a bad outfit.
Yeah,
just a bad outfit.
Well, we talked about it a couple weeks ago when they lost to Lamar. There's something
off,
something not good with the Coyotes, and we saw it come home to roost on Saturday.
Yeah, and so they had their couple of years, and maybe that's what it was going to be anyway, that, they lost some good players to graduation. And, South Dakota State clearly had a couple of recruiting classes there that were just completely dynamite.
Yep.
And those guys are gone. And so I know the Jacks they're still fine. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. 605. They're still fine. They're better than I thought they were going to be. I'll say that. I'll admit that I was wrong there. That I thought they would have taken a bigger step back, but they're not as good as they were in 22 and 23. They weren't as good last year as they were in 22 and 23.
Yep.
They probably maybe have the depth to sustain a little bit better some of the losses they had. South Dakota, with the losses they had in graduation, were probably going to take a step back a little bit anyway. And then with the portal and the injuries, they just got devastated, and there's just nothing left behind. It was their 2-year window, and
that's it.
Now maybe they're being back to South Dakota.
Another email comes in. Dom asked Mike about our Cole Payton's play through the first 4 games ranks for him. It's been pretty darn good.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think I looked yesterday on Pro Football Focus. That's the analytics stuff, and North Dakota State of the 300 or 270, whatever, I think 270 Division I football teams, FBS and FCS. Yeah. North Dakota State has the highest ranked passing offense
of course they
in
do.
all of Division I college football.
NDSU.
And that's, again, you got to take into consideration they're being graded against who they're playing, not against everybody else. But North Dakota, let's repeat that. just so that everybody take this in.
NDSU has the highest.
North Dakota State has the highest rated passing offense in all of Division I college football. And I did not check, but I think, because this was the case a couple of weeks ago, Cole Payton is likely the number 1 rated passing quarterback in all of Division I football.
Just like we thought.
Which, in 2014, when Tim Polasek was slamming the glass at the Fargo-Dome when he wanted to keep running
the ball,
the A-gap power against Sam Houston to just break their will, and they were just killing them with John Crockett and that offensive line they had that year. I know that I said at that time, as I looked back, as I was sitting down at the end of the press box, I looked back at Polasek with his red face, pounding the glass. Get up the line of scrimmage! Get up the line of scrimmage! I'm just going, oh my goodness. I knew at that moment that in 2025, that NDSU would have the top-ranked passing offense in all of Division I college football.
Well, we knew their wide receivers were talented, obviously coming back, but the ability for Payton to get them the ball was the giant question mark. And boy, he's been dynamite through the first 4 games.
The offensive line has protected him well, and the scary part for everybody else is that when you see the play that I know you've referenced and shown the highlight of a lot, because I watched the show yesterday, where he scrambled for 20 yards on 3rd and 17, and there's guys bouncing off him. The number 13, I think, comes up to make a tackle and bounces off him.
Correct.
And Peyton goes for another 10 yards and then goes down and gets the first down. That was just a scramble. Plus, they added in, as you mentioned on the broadcast a couple of times, that they also added in for this game that they were going to run him more. And we've seen that historically for North Dakota State, whether it was Carson Wentz, Easton Stick, Trey Lance, Cam Miller, that they sort of kept a lot of that in their back pocket until the games they really thought they might need it. And I don't know if they needed it this time, but clearly this game was a point of emphasis for the head coach and his staff.
Yeah.
And so they kind of unleashed a little bit of the quarterback run game as well. And there's just a lot of with all due respect to Barika Penu and DJ Scott, both of whom are running really well right now. The one thing missing is just the John Crockett type back, or Lance Dunn or Bruce Anderson, or in some cases you have all three, where you just go, there's a chance that if there's a crease, he's going to go 65 yards for a touchdown. And I don't know that they have that. I don't know that they'll need it. They didn't have it. Marty Brown last year never really got loose a lot.
One until the end of the season.
Yep, but and maybe that'll happen. But that's if you want to nitpick, which we always do in Fargo. Nobody else in FCS nitpicks. No. All the other media are so busy cheerleading for their home teams that they nitpick. We give a lot of positive coverage. I'm not saying that, but I don't know what else you're going to do when you win 95% of your games over 15 years. But if you want to nitpick, they're missing maybe that Walter Payton Award winning type running back.
Yeah. It might be the Walter Payton Award quarterback.
Though, which
is ironic considering the year that Cam Miller had last season.
Arguably the best year a quarterback has ever had at North Dakota State, if you take everything into consideration. And he didn't win it. And Malott was Montana State.
Right.
I mean,
it's not like he wasn't deserving to win.
Right. But let's say like Easton Stick did not win the Payton Award his senior year,
which he deserved to win it.
And Cole Payton, as of right now, and it's always an uphill battle for NDSU players to win national awards, because there's just this fatigue and this resentment and this dislike around the country for North Dakota State. And yet at the same time, some of those people holding those feelings don't want to see them move to FBS because that would then be, a positive for NDSU. So they resent and hate NDSU, but they don't want them to leave because that would then be a good thing for NDSU, and that's what they want. And so then they would rather root against them so that they're unhappy instead of getting them out. Well, it's long. It's a complicated relationship.
Oh, man. How they have played defensively, too. I want to do this before we go to break. I want to talk about Illinois State on the other side. They are fast on that side of the ball, faster than I think they have been in recent years.
Looks like it for sure,
spot. That they're getting to play.
They have some athletic defensive linemen
I guess
as well.
that was my point.
You have
that.
athletic defensive linemen that can move side to side.
Keenan Wilson's just flying out there, too.
Keenan Wilson's fantastic. Obviously, Dutenheffer is the
really
kind of
good.
the guy. He's been really good.
Toby is what he is.
Toby and Nene is outstanding. And it's just they're better there than I thought they were going to be. I thought that they were going to be good, but I think they also have some depth there. So we'll see. And nothing's guaranteed. They can go into normal and lose the game. It's college football. Weird things happen. It's a bunch of 18 to 22-year-old guys that got a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
All right, let's break. We come back. Much more with Mike. We'll talk about the game in normal and a couple other topics I want to get to before we wrap up our first hour. Back with Mike McFeely on this Tuesday morning edition of Hot Mike. Right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Another email comes in. I've been saving this one, so just... Dom, can you ask Mike how he feels about the combined records of Northern Illinois and UTEP as the newest members of the Mountain West Conference?
I'm one of these guys.
I'm serious, that was in there. I'm sorry.
I'm one of these guys who spends way too much time on my phone, because I have a brain that I just can't shut off. And so I've always got to be doing something, reading something. And most of it goes toward, reading a newspaper or a magazine article or whatever. I just happened this morning to be looking at the athletics rankings of college football teams from Chris Vanini. And also, I was digging through the Sagarin ratings and Bill Connolly's
That's really cool, actually,
rankings
for
at
college
ESPN.
football nerds. That's good stuff. Yep.
And Northern Illinois and UTEP are among the worst FBS programs in college football. And so you and I have talked about this before, maybe even on Saturday, but let's all give a round of applause to the Mountain West presidents for choosing Northern Illinois, which is one of the worst Division I college football programs, FBS,
1-3
in the land.
Yep.
They were they got a big victory on Saturday though, 6-3. Over San Diego State. Or was it the other way around?
No, they lost to San Diego State.
They lost to San Diego State.
Their only win is an FCS win. They beat Holy Cross to start the season.
Yes, so Northern Illinois lost 6-3 to San Diego State, and Northern Illinois is terrible, and that's the school. I know that there's other things in play here, but geography isn't one of them.
It's definitely not
You cannot say president at name your school, New Mexico or something. You can't say that geography played a factor. You can't say that media market played a factor.
Nope.
I'm not sure you could say enrollment played a factor in any of this. You can't say that.
Nope, nothing. Nope.
You can't say that brand. You can't say that quality. It was a football only. Keep this in mind.
Yep.
You're not having all of your Mountain West schools have to send all their teams to Fargo, or in this case, DeKalb.
DeKalb, yep.
It's just football, and it's every other year. And these pinheaded, pointy-headed morons who are leading the Mountain West Conference can't see beyond their own arrogance and their own selfishness to say, wow, North Dakota State's pretty good at football. Don't know that it's quite the national brand that they want us to believe in North Fargo, but people do know about North Dakota State football.
Yep.
A casual college football fan would say, oh, yeah, NDSU's that school that wins all the championships, right? I go back to my time in Plano, Texas, standing outside a restaurant in Plano 10 years ago, and there was a guy and a gal, older gentleman with his wife, who was not as old as he was, which is interesting. Significantly not old. But anyway, she says, well, what's with all these people in green and yellow?
Yeah.
And he says, oh, that's North Dakota State. They come down here and kick the dog out of somebody every year. Doesn't mean that everybody in the country thinks that way, but some rando Texas guy knew about North Dakota State.
Yep.
Do you think anybody in the country right now is going, boy, Northern Illinois, wonder what they're up to these days?
Yeah. Nope. By the way, UTEP is also, turning it up at 1-4 to start the season.
I mean, I can sort of go, okay. I mean, it's Texas.
A Texas school. Yeah.
They're bad, but they have some possibilities there.
Yeah.
Northern Illinois sucks. And they're in DeKalb, Illinois, which is, again, it's
right.
If you want to talk about geography,
no.
Screw you.
No.
It's not, no.
I didn't mean to set you off there, but
That's
I had to get that
I want to
email.
say one more thing, by the way. Let me get a drink of my water.
Okay, yes.
I'm all worked up.
Well, you have the pulpit here. Go for it here. Let her rip.
I also was thinking about this on Saturday. I don't want to get it out of my brain before I forget about it. Can we acknowledge that Matt Entz knew what he was doing when it came to recruiting?
Oh yeah, yep. I've talked about that before.
I mean, people were all over him, and I had my criticisms, and I voiced some of them publicly, and others I didn't. Some of them I said right to his face, because that's the kind of guy I am. But when you're looking at the Bison today, and you're going, Donovan Woolen, wow.
Yep.
Guess who was the head coach when he was recruited?
Yep.
Oh, my God, Nathan Stalling. Guess who was the head coach?
Jackson Williams.
Yeah. Toby Anini. Cole Payton.
Yep.
Barika Penu. Bryce Lance.
Mm-hmm. Marty Brown.
Jackson Dutenheffer. Marty Brown. Cody Heisman. Name it.
Yeah.
Other than a couple of transfers. And this is no knock on Tim Polsek.
No.
We know Tim watches the show religiously. I'm not knocking Tim Polsek. I think that recruiting, there's a chance it takes an even bigger step up. Because they're aggressive and they are out there. They're doing things. But can we just bury the narrative that Matt Entz couldn't recruit and the program wasn't falling apart. It clearly, there were some positions that were hurt by recruiting and transfer portal, by the way.
Yep.
You look at safety last year.
That's clearly one.
One of them. Running back, I don't think has been where they've wanted it or needed it to be.
Tight end was
but the majority of this team today, which we're all raving over, was recruited and signed and committed and stayed and developed under Matt Entz.
Yes.
So that's my second soapbox thing.
I got you. Appreciate you saying that. Give us a couple of sentences, words on Illinois State. What do we expect of the Redbirds? Have not beaten the Bison since 2010.
I want an answer right now about why this game is at 6:00. That's all I care about at this point. So you talk about if
I wish I had a good one.
I don't know, so I got to be careful here. But whatever. If it's some sort of like mental play,
it's gamesmanship,
gamesmanship. If it's some sort of gamesmanship thing,
well, it's a whiteout, I know. So I don't know if they do this. I think they do this every year. The South Dakota State got this treatment a couple years ago.
What was the score there?
I believe it was 42-10. It was a lot to a little. The Jackrabbits won handily that day. Yeah.
So anyway, college football should be played, especially a network televised game.
Correct.
This is not on ESPN. This is the Valley Game of the Week, I think. So it's going to be on, some streaming service.
Just ESPN Plus. Yep.
And so they're going to wait till 6:00 to kick it off. I'm already fired up about that. I'll be getting back at 1:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
And that's, as we all know, it's
all about you.
Me.
All about you is exactly right.
It just makes everything miserable.
Yeah.
And so you're making fans wait around all day. And I know that the big thing is let's make the Bison wait around all day.
Right.
Let's make the Bison sit in their hotel.
So Youngstown State has done this. Western Illinois has done this.
How many games have those teams won against NDSU and they've done this? Let's play a night game. Screw them up.
They have not won. They did not. And in fact, the games weren't particularly close either. In that,
the South Dakota State game is going to likely be a night game, but that's an ESPN game.
It's driven by television.
They'll put them in a window.
Yes.
We all know television has ruined college football, and so we may as well just get that out there. But I hope that one of Tim Polsek's rah-rah speeches is, you know what? They're making us sit around all day and sit in meetings and watch TV and be bored all day in a hotel. We're not going to get back until whatever. So 1:00 in the morning to Fargo.
Correct. So. Youngstown's doing the same thing to the Jacks this week. That's a night game in Youngstown
that's going to make a big difference.
South Dakota State.
It's going to make a big difference. How about this? Recruit better.
Yeah, get better players.
Get better players.
Yeah.
How about spend more money on the sport that you care about, allegedly.
Proclaim that you care about.
And so that you can better compete. How about feeding your players, 3 squares a day year round? Instead of hoping against hope that, they're going to get bored and be watching football and then be sleepy at 6:00 at night.
Or their best players have left in the portal, so maybe they're not as good this year. So, right?
Yep.
All right, we got to roll. That was you were on fire today, man.
Well, you got me going.
Bringing the hard. The emailers did. They were waiting for you. They wanted to hear your opinion.
They like to get me going.
There's no doubt about that. So
it's easy. It's not that hard to do. Don't pat yourself in the back too hard.
Thanks for coming by. Good to see you, bud. Mike McFeely joins us each and every Tuesday. We come back. We'll start our second hour. Wayne Werremeyer, head coach of the Davies Eagles, getting ready for number 1 ranked Shanley. When we come back.
This is Hot Mike. Hot Mike on the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2, ready to rock and roll on this Tuesday morning. Hey, heads up, tomorrow we'll be joined by Minnesota defensive end Carter Menz, former Cheyenne standout. We featured Carter yesterday on our Best of the Weekend. Had a sack, a couple of TFLs, best collegiate game. He'll join us on the show tomorrow. Gophers getting ready for a little program you may know in Ohio State. So Carter will join us on the show tomorrow. Our next guest doesn't need any reminder about how good Carter Menz was, but his football team is pretty good. The Davies Eagles off a big win over Cheyenne. Now they've got a matchup set for top-ranked Shanley, the 25th Street rivalry game coming up this weekend. Our pleasure to be joined by Davies head football coach Wayne Werremeyer joining us, who is a big fan of the Bison playing a 6 p.m. game on Saturday because your son is playing. Obviously, you got time. You can coach the game, and then you can fly to Chicago the next morning.
Works out great this weekend. I know a lot of people don't really like that 6 p.m. game, but when I when I get to be on the field with one of my other kids till 9-10 o'clock on Friday night, and then I got a flight Saturday morning at 7 a.m. It's awesome. I get to see them all.
Have you made the gauntlet? Have you done all the road trips yet, or have you made all the Valley stops? Because I know you're getting this one off the board this weekend.
The only valley I don't think I've been to is Terre Haute. I think they're in the valley. I don't even know who's in who's not. But I've been down to northern Iowa. I've been both to South Dakotas. UND's an easy trip. So yeah, this is it's a new stadium for me this weekend. And then on top of that, as soon as I get back on Sunday, Malachi, my freshman that's at Jamestown, they have like an inter squad red shirt scrimmage with Concordia. So I get to sneak over there. So I get to see all three of my boys play football this weekend.
That's awesome, bud. That's fantastic. We appreciate the time. There's no needed, coach speak this week, right? With who's on the schedule.
Yeah, who do we got? I forget who we're playing, but from last week, Cheyenne's obviously a big rivalry game for us. To Shanley, the game. People who put the schedule together, I don't even know what you call them. They gave us back to back. It's fun. It's exciting. The kids are jacked. Hopefully, we put a good product on the field Friday night.
Tell me about the game a couple weeks ago out at Legacy. How that went and how you've bounced back because you've had two really good games since that performance out there.
Yeah, and I think first it starts with we've been pretty healthy this whole year. I want to throw a shout out to Capital Credit Union. They gave us a fairly sizable donation to put some kids in some of these new Axiom helmets. They custom fit the kids' heads. We've got 28 kids in Axioms, Dom, and I don't know if you see that across the state of North Dakota. I don't even know if you see that in the college ranks in North Dakota right now. So how do we bounce back? Well, number one, you got to stay healthy. Number two, the kids got to realize that, we want to win every game, right? Some of those non-conference games are learning experiences, and we did everything we could to beat Legacy. Legacy whooped us that night, so hats off to Legacy, and I think we got up early on them, and I think the kids relaxed, and Legacy said, whoa, we're not relaxing, so our kids learned from that. So just understanding that 48 minutes means 48 minutes, I think is what we've done the last 2 weeks.
I was giving you a hard time off air. We're seeing the highlight now. You actually threw the ball on Friday? What was going on Friday in this win over Cheyenne?
Well, one of the things we were very deficient at last year was throwing the football. We knew that. Every other team in the state knew that. We ground and pound, and we relied on a couple dudes that we had. So a big emphasis over the course of the offseason was to retool our entire passing game to be able to throw when we want and throw when we have to. I think we've done a decent job throwing the ball this year as far as when we want and when we have to. We have a very capable quarterback back there. He's a big, strong kid, does a great job running the football. He also can throw the football a little bit too, and we got some speed that we got to get the ball to in space sometimes.
To have that as a option now, how much for a head coach is that a nice deal that we don't have to run it every single down?
Well, I would love to run it every single down. You know that. The rest of the state knows that. We went to a Power T conference at Elk River, and Steve Hamilton hosted. Man, we talked football for 6 hours before that dreaded 4-letter word pass came up. But eventually that word pass came up, and Elk River does a great job on their whole offense throwing the ball, and we learned a ton from them. So we want to sprinkle it. I still have my assistant coaches in my ear. Hey, we haven't thrown yet this quarter. We got to throw this quarter. So every now and then we do put the ball up in the air.
How different are you just in the modern landscape, because I'm going to talk about your opponent in a second, that of teams that just do that? You got to be really rare, especially these days with how good quarterback play is everywhere.
I think the overall play in the state is elevated. I mean, you talk about the men's kid out in Minnesota, the I can't say his last name, so I'm going to say Cade from Cheyenne last year, getting sacks in the first quarter down at Nebraska to the South kids playing right away for NDSU. I mean, the state's got really, really good football. So a lot of people like to showcase their athletes. We like to showcase our athletes. We just like to do it in a little different way.
You know full well your opponent loves to throw the football. What challenges does Shanley bring to the table for this coming game on Friday night?
They go fast, right? I don't know what their snap count is this year, but in the past it's been, there's a 40-second play clock. You could set that play clock at 12 seconds and Troy snapping the ball inside that 12 seconds. On the flip side, sometimes we're down to one because I forget to get a play call in, and then we got to get to the line of scrimmage and try to get it executed. So, I mean, just the speed that they do things, it's tough to prepare. And we have some ways that we try to prepare, and then hopefully we do a good job this week. But not only that, but just their concepts, Dom, with they've got one short and they're going to dink you, dink, and then you're over the top. So kids can't fall asleep. It's basically option football, but they do it in the air, and you got to be responsible for what you're responsible for and not fall asleep on them.
I know a handful of years ago you introduced the traveling trophy into this. How much now for your guys that are seniors that were freshmen or eighth graders when that came about? How big a deal is that trophy now?
I think it's a bigger deal for probably the people outside our football program than it is for the people inside. We have pride in it, right? We like to see that trophy in our trophy case all year long. But I think the kids understand, we've got goals, right? We've got goals this season. It starts with getting better every day. And then one of our goals is to put a number on our board, whether it's a conference champ or a state champ, hopefully both, but a lot of things got to go right for that. So our kids' goals obviously are to go perform, to win the game. I don't think there's any extra, we want to win more because we get a trophy. Hopefully we want to win because we're intrinsically motivated by wanting to win.
How much now with your interleague play have you been paying attention to the rest of the EDC? Is that something you do all year? You started doing now once conference games started last week?
I know Shanley beat West Fargo last week, and we play Shanley this week. Next week we play someone else, and I'm going to look at their scores, and the week after we play someone else. So we try to focus on Davies. We try to focus on who we're playing.
When you look at, though, the EDC race right now, I mean, it could be you guys, Shanley, Horace right in the mix, which how they do the scheduling now with this, and I know we talked about it when I saw you up at fall camp back in August. I'm a big fan of that now, that as opposed to what you guys were at. Are we in a good spot with 3A, with scheduling and where we're heading towards?
Better spot with 3A. I love the fact that our conference games are at the end. It's how it was 20 years ago where you play all your non-conference up front. Yeah. I still think we may have a few mini non-conference. I'd like to see some more teams in the bracket, but that's not for me to decide, right? We're going to go play who they tell us to play. So love the fact that it's a conference schedule. It's a true conference schedule. Everyone's playing conference games. We have an even number of teams. And I think the conference is a good conference. I know Horace is winning football games. Haven't seen them on film. I know West Fargo isn't winning football games, but I have seen them on film, and they're a lot more talented than what their record shows right now. So I would not count West Fargo out of this race yet either.
Okay, we talked plenty on your offense. I don't want to get your defensive guys upset with me. Tell me about a couple guys on your defense that have stood out so far through the first 5 games.
I think we're playing a really a team-focused defense. And with any good defense, it starts up the middle. Wilmot Matati, an inside linebacker, is a heck of a player. He was out that Legacy game, and trust me, I'm not making excuses because Century had kids out when we played them. Legacy had kids out. But you could definitely tell Wilmot Matati didn't play that Legacy game for us. Alex Christofferson, Colton Tesh at safety's right behind him. I think AC's got 3-4 picks. I think he should have had another one, but we had a roughing the passer call, and we unfortunately had to wipe that pick off the board for him. We've got a couple really good defensive ends, and Alex Meese and Jason Hunter, all state caliber type players. We've got some interior guys. My son Gus and Brody Iverson are playing interior, and they're hogging blocks. They don't necessarily get a lot of hoopla or name called on the stands or on the overcom, but that's okay, right? I mean, it's a team play. So I think we put speed on the field. I think number one, that helps us. We've been gashed a little bit by the outside run. We got to fix some things. We're definitely not in the spot where we want to be yet. But my defensive staff, led by Coach Peterson, it works their butts off every week to get these guys ready to go.
I think I'm interested. You're 5 games in. How much was last year, how it ended? Was that motivation that you needed? Did you even talk to the guys about that in fall camp, or was that unsaid?
This is 2025, 2026 Davies football. I think, I listen to other coaches, and one thing I've really learned from Tim up at NDSU is last year was last year, this year is this year, right? 2025 Davies football has not accomplished anything yet, right? 2024 Davies football got second in the state. Great season, loved all the kids, loved the season, hats off to them. But 2025 has not earned anything yet.
I got to ask, so you mentioned being up at camp. Describe for you going this with Truman being his senior year, how much you're soaking this in, knowing full well this is his last ride.
Well, the tears haven't come yet watching him play his last football game, and like football, you never know when your last game's going to be. But we're awfully proud of that young man. Preferred walk-on to start to working into a starting role the last couple of years, and sounds like he's pretty well respected by his teammates. Some of the things he does, off the field and for the team, with the team, joking around with the guys. He gets to write the weekly roast. I guess they get to get together on Thursday or Friday night and they roast each other. So he gets to write that. He has a blast with it, and I don't understand anything he's talking about, but it sounds like the team has a good time with that.
Has he told you what he said?
He's told me bits and pieces, but, I think there's a lot of inside jokes there, so I don't understand any of it. But I'm old, Dom. I don't understand.
I know your dad's, you had maybe high expectations, but has he played more? Has he contributed more than you ever thought when he was going to go there and play football?
I got to lean on Tyler Roll. I had a great conversation with Tyler Roll, and Tyler Roll said, Wayne, he fits. He belongs. If he trusts the process, he will play. When that was going to be, I don't know. I mean, I know I was tickled pink when he was a redshirt freshman and he got on the plane to go down to Arizona. I didn't know if he was going to be on the travel roster as a redshirt freshman, as a third fullback, but, he trusted the process. He's had some great coaching, some great guys that believed in him, some great mentors up there. So it's everything you could ask a college experience to be.
Well, last year down in Normal, I think he broke off his biggest reception he's had. So I don't know if he can duplicate that with you being there on Saturday.
Awesome. If Tim's listening, to get him in the end zone at some point would be awesome. And Tim, I'm sure Tim has nothing better to do than listen to Dom.
Hey, believe me, he watches
on a Tuesday morning.
Hey, he watches the show. I'm just telling you that right now. But
no, here's the thing, man. It's about the team, right? Team comes first. Team's number one in any player that you want. And I think Truman believes in the team concept. And whether he catches 900 balls this year, which he ain't going to do, or he catches 0, if they put a W on the board, we're all about the team.
I know I've seen you guys up at wrestling all the time, at state wrestling. Did you, in your back of your mind, you ever thought if he wanted to go down that road, how successful he could have been as a wrestler?
Yeah. People laugh at me when I say Truman wasn't that great of a wrestler. He had 2-time state champ. You find 2-3 moves that really worked. Problem with wrestling, Dom, is, you got, in college, you have 197 and you have 285. Truman was a 220 pounder. Right. So he's either going to have to cut 23 pounds, which, man, I've tried to cut 5 and I'm not very good at it. So hopefully he'd be better, or he's going to have to put on 60 pounds. Would have he been successful? Truman's a grinder. Truman's going to be successful in a lot of things in his life. So probably he would have found success. Yeah. It wasn't his first love.
Yeah. It's great to see you, man. Thanks so much for doing this. Appreciate the time. Good luck on Friday, and I'll see you on Saturday, okay?
Yeah, thanks for covering us, and we'll be down there.
Sounds good, bud. Thanks for the time. There he goes, Wayne Werremeyer joining us. Davies head football coach. Davies and Shanley coming up on Friday night. We'll have that game for you as part of a big night of high school football on Friday. Dynamite matchup. It's 1-2 in the state. Could be the first of a couple times that they play this season. We'll just see how it goes, but I was there for the first time that they instituted that trophy, and it was a big deal. And I have a feeling he's exactly right, that it means a lot to the people attached to the two programs. Doesn't mean it. I'm not saying it doesn't mean anything to the guys playing, but for the fans, supporters of each of those teams, it's a big deal if they can pick up the win. We'll see what happens coming up on Friday. All right, we're over to full break. We had a couple emails to get to. Much more on Kirill Kaprizov has signed his deal with the Minnesota Wild. He's going to be speaking with the media coming up after practice today. Back on a busy Tuesday. Hot mic after this. Welcome back, everybody. Our thanks to Wayne Werremeyer. That was great stuff. Dragon head football coach Steve Laqua going to join us in about 10 minutes. I got this sent in to me from a buddy of mine from back home, which is fantastic. Just spoke with another Mets-Jets fan I know who works in college sports. Started the conversation with usual, how are you? We agreed to lie, saying fine, and move on quickly to the work-related conversation. See, people in this building, I mean, first off, they don't care. No one cares Mets-Jets. It's just not a thing. But it's just so common that, first off, the Jets lose all the time, and the Mets routinely have ripped my heart out. I think people know better than to even ask because they know. Plus, I hide it well. Although I don't think so at about 9:15. I'm sure that video will get out there, me throwing the flag. I already got a message on that as well. Let me read that quickly here before we get to a couple of more pressing items on what we have going on today. Thanks, Dom. You gave me a huge chuckle when you threw the flag and helmet. As a Viking fan, I know where you're coming from. Love the show. Appreciate that. Yes. How can it be this bad? It's 4 games in, and we're making worse mistakes than they were making last year. I thought that. Goodness gracious. We could have kept the old guy. We fired Saleh before they even flew back from London. We could have kept. Look at him. It worked out okay for him. What is he now? Is he in the 49ers defensive coordinator, I think? It's worked out well for him. Yikes. Let's do a couple more here. Dom, are you doing the game Saturday? If not, how do we watch? Well, all right, here we go. It's Tuesday at 10:26, so I'll get my first shout-out here for this. We do not have the game this week. This is the Missouri Valley Conference Game of the Week. They select one a year. I think every team gets picked, sometimes not. We were kind of hopeful the Bison wouldn't. That wasn't the case. So it's exclusive on ESPN+. I do not know the broadcasters and who's producing it as of yet, but we do not have the game. It's on ESPN Plus only at 6 o'clock Saturday night. We're going to be down there. We're going to have our typical pregame show and our postgame show afterwards, but we will not have the game. It happens every year. Last year we didn't do the game in Carbondale. I'm trying to think the year before that. 2023 was Springfield. We weren't in Missouri State. Typically, we try to ask for maybe the further trips away. Like we were asking maybe for Terre Haute to be taken. They opted to do the Illinois State game. So we have to go to Terre Haute with our whole crew, which they might be leaving now to get ready to get out to Indiana. But that's the deal for that game. Appreciate the email on that. All right, if you missed it earlier, the big news about an hour ago, Minnesota Wild fans are breathing a sigh of relief. Kirill Kaprizov has officially signed his deal. They will. He and Bill Guerin are going to speak to the assembled media after practice this morning. The email came in to my inbox at 9:28 this morning. What I appreciate about hockey is that they release the terms of said contract. No other league does that. I mean, I fortunate enough, I get the press releases from a lot of professional teams when they announce stuff. They never, as part of club rules, the terms were not released, like with the Vikings or with the Timberwolves, certainly with the Twins. The Wild, it's right there. Minnesota Wild President of Hockey Operations and General Manager Bill Guerin today announced the National Hockey League Club has signed left wing Kirill Kaprizov to an 8-year, $136 million contract extension, $17 million average annual value that begins in the 26-27 season and goes through the 2033-34 season. Right there. How hard is that? I appreciate the transparency on that. Now, it is up on the Wild to build the team around him to deliver. Last year, Minnesota played a heck of a series with Vegas, lost in the first round. They have not made it out of the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs since 2015. It's been a bit when they lost to Chicago in the second round when the Blackhawks were winning Stanley Cups, it seemed like every other year. This is the guy. I mean, think about it now for Minnesota sports fans. You've got superstars in your town. You have Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver in the game, plays for the Minnesota Vikings. You have Anthony Edwards, who I think is a top 5 NBA player, plays for the Minnesota Timberwolves. You have Kirill Kaprizov, who's now the highest paid hockey player in the history of the game. He plays for the Minnesota Wild. And the Twins, well, they've got Byron Buxton, who's pretty darn good. Had a career year. Twins wasted it this year. Who's a dynamic player, right? I was going to put Royce Lewis there, but he regressed this year. Buxton was really good. Think about it, though. You've got studs, stars for your teams. I would tip of the hat to the Wild for going the extra money here. No, 16 wasn't enough. The extra $1 million got to 17, and we had heard that in previous reporting on this story, but they get it done at $17 million per year for 8 years that he's now signed, sealed, and delivered. And now let's go and win more games and not finish third in the division and barely get into the playoffs. Can we challenge at the top of the Western Conference in the National Hockey League? We'll find out. He's got to stay on the ice. Missed half the season last year. That's not a great return on your investment. Need him out there. That's the big sports news locally here on this Tuesday. We're due for a break. We come back. Our guy Steve Laqua will join us, get us ready for the Dragons' homecoming. How they bounce back after last Saturday's loss at Duluth. That's coming up on the other side of the break. Hot Mike returns after this. Welcome back, everybody. Tuesday morning show rolls on this, well, it's going to be a warm one again today. For the last day of September, we're getting 85. Why not? Practice will be warm all over the place for football, whether they're going in the morning or the afternoon. I don't think you're going to miss it. The Dragons are back home this weekend. It's homecoming for Minnesota State University Moorhead. They have Minot State coming into town. The Dragons are looking to snap a 2-game skid after a loss on Saturday at Minnesota Duluth. Our guy Steve Laqua joins us each and every Tuesday at 10:35 to give us the lowdown on what's going on with Dragon football. You knew Duluth had this one circled after how you guys won there last year. Tell me about this game, and there were chances for you guys to go and win this football game.
Well, there was definitely, I said it before the game, there's a lot more electricity in the stadium than it felt like than we've been there before. And that was just me maybe more attuned to it. And I'm not saying it was bad crowds in the past. I think last year when we played there was almost 6,000 people there, and it was a great environment, but there seemed like a little extra juice, like almost like their fans were like, okay, yeah, like I guess you can win. We saw that last year. This is going to be a heck of a game. And you know that they're a great program. They're bouncing back. They're not going to take a loss from last year and not come out and give it their best. And so we knew we were going to get their best shot, which is awesome because you want to play the best and have them play their best and see how you stack up. And to be honest, we didn't come away with the win, but we stacked up really, really well in a lot of areas. They have a dynamic quarterback running the football. He's 240 pounds. He's downhill. He is a bruiser of a runner. And we did a great job. They hang their hat on running the football. And they were coming in, their first group was averaging over 7 yards per play. Like they didn't have a 100-yard rusher. Yeah. We were able to contain them. You look at the first half and we're in business. We're up 7-0 and we have a ball tipped. 2 tips, both of them are below the waist. That's how low the tips are. And it hands right into the shoelaces of a defender, and he catches it, and then not only doesn't fall down, he stumbles, stays up, and runs it back as a pick six. And you're sitting there going, wow, we're 7-0 moving the ball in the second quarter, looking to be able to potentially go up 10-0, 14-0. Now we're 7-7, and, they get the ball before the half. They hit a 52-yarder we're down 3 going in at halftime going, wow, we played really good football, and we're down 3. The guys bought in. They battled in the second half. We got it to 14-13. We're ahead. We're liking where we are. And then, we got hit a little, snake bit a little bit with the turnover. Had some good drives. They were promising. And then, you know what? They got us in a couple. We missed the protection. We got it called the wrong way. They put us in a bad situation for a pick, and we turned it over twice. And when they can run football effectively, the game's really short, and that was the end of our opportunities.
When you have it, it's 10-7, and they kick a 52-yarder at half time. How are you talking to the guys there about how the first half had gone?
Well, in the end, we always try and create the theme of the week, and our theme was that things weren't going to go right, and the thing that we talked about was like, hey, in the movie that we watched the night before, it didn't all go perfect. Bad things are going to happen. You know what? The helicopter did go down at the beginning of the movie. It's okay, and so the guys kind of can rally on that, and I think it gets you out of the here and now of being, oh, woe was me. How did that happen to us? To be like, you know what? This is all part of the journey. There are ups and downs, and so I think it takes your focus off of it, allows you to reset and come out and play better. And you know what? Credit to our guys. We came out after that pick six. We got a great return off the kickoff return team. We did some positive things. And so they were in a great mental space. You know what? Duluth's a really good football team. They got a chance to run the table, be an undefeated team going into the playoffs if they play their cards right. And so it's a good team. You know what? Hats off to them. We've got to just get back up off the mat and make sure we can play at that level again, week in and week out.
Again, though, when Gage catches the touchdown, and we're watching the replay of it, it's 14-13. You got to be juiced. Like, okay, we've had things go against us here, but we're leading late in the third quarter.
Absolutely. Our guys, I think, felt at that point there was a definite feeling of, okay, we've overcome every bad thing that can maybe hit us, and we're still standing and we're still ahead. We just got to keep doing what we're going to do and make it happen. And then, you know what? Credit to them. Their offense is physical. They pound you, and they do wear you down as the game goes. They made some plays. Like I said, we didn't make some plays. We didn't win the turnover margin battle again 2 weeks in a row, and that's, at the end of the day, that's probably a big part of it. We just got to do a better job of that, and we played good football. We can build on what we did.
You had 3 picks with Jack Strand. I know we saw the one. That's a complete fluke that got returned. Is he trying to force a ball in on these, Steve, or is these just fluke plays that happen when you throw the ball as much as you guys do?
Well, and you throw 52 times, there's going to be some flukiness. Definitely the one was a total fluke. Right. The other two, and they I wouldn't say they're flukes. I would say give credit to Duluth. They beat our protections. They got a guy. They gambled. They sent more guys than we had, and you know what? They got a guy in a face, and you know what? We had to make a throw that we couldn't quite step into, and we had to throw it with not as much juice. And their guys, they react to the football. They make a big play. Give them credit. They got good defensive backs too. And so when you get pressure, you beat the pressure. Good coaching, and then hey, you got guys that can make plays. Hats off to those guys. I don't think it's anything on Jack. I say, you know what? It's good football. They're going to make plays. We're going to make plays. They just happen to make those two in the fourth.
Coming back into practice yesterday, what was the move of the guys to get ready for a new week?
Well, we talk about all the time that Monday should look the same whether you win or lose. And so I think our guys have said that from the beginning of day one, this year. And so it didn't feel any different. Our guys bounced back. They're like, hey, we're not going to sit and wallow on this. Hey, let's wipe the slate clean. Let's get forward. We have a challenge this week. We have not done good against a triple option type football team. Northern Michigan hangs 40 on us earlier this season, or almost 40. Last year, Minot puts almost 40 on us. Hey, we've got to be better in that. And I talked about life keeps giving you the lesson until you're able to master the skill. And so we've got to master that skill and level up. And so we've got a challenge in front of us. We got to make sure we put a complete game together, because that style of play not only is it difficult defensively, where the challenge has been, offensively, there's very few drives. They're averaging 8 drives a game. So that's a lot different than the 14 that you're playing in a normal game. And so by nature, it makes the game close, but you have to be very productive in the opportunities that you get.
How different, is this the opposite ends of the spectrum with how you like to run your offense and how they run theirs? It's A to Z, right?
It very is. It's opposite ends of the spectrum, but at the end of the day, it's also very similar styles. Both of us are on the ends of the spectrum, which is different. And so we found ways to win, to be competitive, not being like everybody else. Because if you're going to, I don't know what the exact quote is in Moneyball, but if you're going to think like the Yankees in here, you're going to lose to the Yankees out there. And so we've got to find a different way. And so we've done that in our way. They've done that in their way. And so now it's just kind of a clash of two similar philosophies in the sense of doing it different, but both on different ends of the spectrum. So
how different is the triple option in Division II ranks? How many teams are doing this? There can't be many, are there?
Not very many, and we faced 2 this year, and so maybe you look at Harding; they've been really successful at the Division II level recently, running it really well, and so there's some that are doing it, and if you do it well, you can be really productive. You look at the old NDSU split bag veer teams from back in the day. Well, they were different, and they were successful, and they found a way, and so we've got to play sound football against that. But at the end of the day, you could say, wow, we've got our challenges. Well, they've got their challenges too. They're used to practicing against their offense that threw the football 3 times last week. Well, hey, we're going to probably have the ball thrown 3 times within the first 3 plays. And so they've got to adjust to a lot of different things they're not used to seeing. And so we both have our challenges. We'll see which one comes out on top.
So your game last week in Duluth was almost 3.5 hours. You could be done like an hour and a half this week then, right?
That's the way it could definitely roll. We're hoping that the game is a little bit longer, which means that, hey, we're doing some things with the football and forcing them things that they want to do. But it could go by real fast.
All right, so Saturday will mark Game 6. How do you feel? Is that probably the best way to talk to you next week about where you're at as a football team? Because officially you'll be halfway done after that.
Well, yeah, you know what? I think there's been some really good. There's been some bad. I think if you look at it, if you're going to look back, you're like, that Wayne game really, really bites at you. That we didn't play better football, but we didn't. So you know what? Now it is what it is. We've just got to play week in, week out. We can play at a high level. I think we showed that last week, but we've got to do it consistently, and we've got to get it done week in and week out, regardless of what scheme we're going to face and how teams are going to try and throw different wrenches at us. And we got to figure out, the dodgeball movie, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. So they're going to throw wrenches at us. We got to figure out a way to be able to still run our offense to things that we maybe haven't seen before or that are unconventional.
I'm going to be honest with you. You're not a great candy mind, obviously, but your movie quotes are just tremendous here. You're throwing left and right here.
Well, the thing is, we've got it every Friday night. We make a movie, and that's the theme of the week that the guys kind of rally behind, and that's kind of our cry during the game that helps us refocus or whatever, gets us into character, whatever it might be. I love when the guys buy into it. So doing that, you gotta come up with some movies and figure it out. Thank goodness for ChatGPT that can give me a summary on what movies are about and see if it works. I got last week's movie. I thought I had the perfect one. We get it all ready, and I get to the final scene to put together, and I go, well, that's terrible. That's a terrible message. We can't use that one. That's not a good, I don't know who gave me this suggestion, but we can't use that.
What movie was it last week?
It was Fury was the movie that we were going to use. And we got to the end, and I was like, well, everybody dies except one guy. That's not a great message. So, I can maybe spin that in some other week, but this is not going to work. So I had to reset that thing back.
Who does the picking of it? Who chooses the movie?
Sometimes it's a collaborative effort. Okay. Yesterday, Leadership Council gave me about 20 different options. Coco was one of them to give you some of their ideas. We're talking about a animated movie. They're like, yeah, it's a good movie. I'm like, yeah, on Friday night, that's going to be the motivational movie and talk. How am I going to spin that? They're kind of like, well, that's not our problem. That's your problem.
Hey,
so I'm not sure that the idea, but the coaches, everybody throws ideas at me. Like I say, thank goodness for ChatGPT can at least tell me what the movie's about, and I can be like, that maybe fits our theme. So,
all right, I'm gonna go off a limb here. When's the last time you've actually been in a movie theater? I'm gonna guess it's probably been a little bit.
Yeah, it's been at least 20 years. I'm trying to think if it was in the 2000s. It might have been in the 90s. So I think it was in the 2000s for sure.
Do you know what it was?
I know what I walked. Well, yeah, I know the last time I walked in. I walked into a theater to get a large buttered popcorn and walk out. I didn't watch a movie. I just wanted the popcorn. So that was the last time I was in a theater.
That's fantastic.
What I watched in a theater, I think, was one of the Harry Potter movies, which had to have been one of the first couple ones.
Well, that was in the 2000s. I think that was 2002, man. So it's not. So you're still in the 21st century. So that's working.
Yeah. So, and then every 25 years, it's probably good to get in a movie theater.
It is homecoming this weekend. How big a deal? I know it's a huge deal to wrap this all up, to have that going on and to get a football win on Saturday.
Well, it would be big, right? It's just you have a lot of people that come back. This is the weekend, whether they've been involved in the football program, we got volleyball, soccer at home. There's people that come back for that. There's people that are just coming to see their kids that are going to school here. There's some that haven't been back in 20 years. A lot of them will stick around and watch the game. You want to make sure you put on a good show and have some Dragon pride in the people that are proud of the university, the experience they have here. And so hopefully it can be a great weekend for the Dragons, soccer, volleyball, football. That would be an awesome weekend, important, I think, for us.
Traditional uniform combo Saturday?
It is traditional for homecoming. That's kind of the traditional red on white. The guys wanted to go with the alternate reds. I don't think that we can get them off of Amazon Prime and get them here in time to make them work for the game. So we're probably going to go with the whites. But, hey, maybe Amazon Prime will come through. Who knows?
Thanks, as always, for the time, bud. Good luck on Saturday. We'll talk next week, okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
There you go. Steve Laqua joining us, movie critic, along with sometimes football coach, giving us a few minutes on this Tuesday morning. We'll take our final break. We come back. We'll wrap things up and get you ready. Got a dynamite Sports Tuesday, opening day of the baseball postseason. We'll get you ready for that when Hot Mike wraps on WDAY Extra right after this. All right, wrapping things up here on this Tuesday fast-moving show. Again, tomorrow, Carter Menz will join us. Minnesota Golden Gopher, Cheyenne standout, former North Dakota Player of the Year. That's coming up on our program tomorrow. Also, Bison Media Zone tomorrow. Thursday, we will have Illinois State head football coach Brock Spack, one of our favorites, will join us on Thursday. So another week of great guests coming up here on the show. Looking forward to that. The full details of the Kaprizov contract from Michael Russo of The Athletic. It's not Ohtani-like in terms of deferments or signing bonus, but close. According to Russo, Kaprizov will get 20% of his $95.5 million cap in salary signing bonuses his first 4 years. He has a $1 million salary in each of the 8 years. But his signing bonus come July 1 of 2026, $18 million, 27, $18 million, 28, $18 million, 29, $18 million, 2030, $16 million, 2031, $14 million, 32, $12.5 million, and 23, $12.5 million. Full new move clause as well. That's a heck of a signing bonus. Just showing up, okay, there it is, 13 mil. It's just... Hey, you got to do what you got to do. We'll see now. In the era of the cap in the NHL, which the Wild couldn't do anything, we were told for years, is because they were handcuffed by the Zach Parise and Ryan Suter deals. Now they've just given the richest contract in the history of the sport to one guy. Can they build a roster out of that? That's what the dilemma surrounding Minnesota Wild fans going forward. Be fascinating to see on how it plays out going forward here. Also today, found out Vikings-Browns this weekend will be Kenny Albert, Jonathan Vilma, and Sarah Walsh will have the call on NFL Network. I know my dad was very concerned about that because he didn't want Rich Eisen. Joe Davis had the call this past weekend. He and Greg Olson were dynamite. Dynamite. I mean, they would be a number one team on another network. But because Fox has Brady and Kevin Burkhardt, they're the number two guys. Honestly, they would be really good. They would be the number one backup team on ESPN. I know that doesn't make sense, so let me explain. Because you have Buck and Aikman. But last night with Fowler's a good college football guy. He's not a good NFL guy. With Louis Riddick and Dan Orlovsky, it's like three guys put together to do a game. Joe Davis and Olsen are really good for a top NFL broadcasting team. That's what you're hoping for. It didn't sound like that last night. Granted, it was Jets-Dolphins. I don't know how – can't bring a whole lot of greatness out of anybody on that. Also out of the Wild, they just announced that Matt Zuccarello expected to miss a minimum of 7 to 8 weeks with a lower body injury. So you got to temper that. There's one of their best players now going to be out for 2 months with an injury. Much more on the Kaprizov signing coming up on our news tonight at 6 and 10. Let's do some What to Watch before we get out of here. What to Watch is brought to us by Northwestern Mutual. We got volleyball tonight. DGF and Moorhead coming up 7 o'clock on WDAY Extra for the old rivals to meet in volleyball. Rebels and the Spuds as we make the turn to October. That's coming up tonight on WDAY Extra at 7 o'clock. Also, The baseball postseason gets underway. Padres and the Cubs, we've got that on WDAY this afternoon, 2 o'clock in Game 1 of the best of 3. Tonight it's Game 5 for the Fever and the Aces, 8:30 on ESPN2. The winner of that will play Phoenix for the WNBA championship. And Game 1 of the AL wildcard series between the Tigers and the Guardians, just to rub it in for you Twins fans, that's coming up at noon on ESPN. The Yankees and the Red Sox play at 5, and the Dodgers and the Reds will play at 8 o'clock on ESPN. We got to roll. Our thanks to Mike McFeely, to Wayne Werremeyer, and to Steve Laqua. If you missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. You can watch a full replay on WDAY+. Tim Polisek's press conference coming up at 1:30. You'll see that on WDAY+ as well. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Enjoy the weather. We'll see you back here tomorrow.